Yo, today we're going to take a look at the England vs Norway game, but from a more tactical perspective. So we're going to look at where the game can be won and where the game can be lost. I'm going to try my hardest to refrain from giving you my first 11 because I want to do that in a separate video. I want to give it a little bit more time to see who's going to be fit, who's going to be available for the game before I do that video. So like I said, in this one, we're going to be looking at a more tactical aspect of things. Where the game could be won and lost. But before I get into it, I need you lot to sub up. I need you lot to like. I need you lot to get in the comments if you like the content. If you don't like the content, get in the comments saying where and let me know I'm chatting rubbish. Yeah? But all right, cool. We're going to start with Haaland, of course, because that's the main threat of Norway. But for me, you can't stop Haaland. So you have to stop the service to him. And the service to him comes from the likes of Nusa from the left wing, Odegaard pulling the strings in the middle, along with Patrick Berg. You see Berg, this Patrick Berg guy, I don't think he gets the credit that he's due. Like, everyone talks about Odegaard, of course, because everyone's Premiership only watches. But if you watch the Norway games, Berg is the one pulling the strings. Like, Odegaard takes too many touches at times. He overthinks things. He does this risk assessment thing where he refuses to take a risk. Berg does everything simple, 1 and 2 touch, quick, simplistic. And because all eyes are on Odegaard, to be fair, when Odegaard does get the ball, there's always someone right next to him, whereas Berg gets a little bit more of a free run, a bit more of a free reign, so we got to keep an eye on him too. And then they got Solaf, the striker. I don't know what he's doing on the right wing, but he's doing a good job. I've seen him play there before, to be honest, but it always looks, I never understood it. He's like a huge striker, like penalty, but I always think, why not have him up front with Haaland, take a bit of the pressure off. Like, those two up front is a problem, but let's not give them too many ideas anyway. Solov operates from the right wing, but he's been doing a good job. He's got legs, he gets up and down. Obviously he's a goal threat. Obviously he's always, because most of their crosses come from their left side, so from Nusa and so on. So you got to be wary of that back post where Solov is coming on at the back post. So we got to be wary of that too. But yeah, these are the main sources of service for Haaland. And I'm telling you, for the only way to stop Haaland is to stop the service. So we have to win the midfield battle. We have to win the midfield battle. They're gonna have Sander Berger. He's their holding midfielder. He's normally a single pivot. Then, like I said, they've got Patrick Berg and Odegaard pulling the strings. We got to win that battle. We have to nullify them, because if we nullify them, it even nullifies the wingers to a certain extent, because then the service to the wingers ain't even getting the ball. And if we dominate the midfield, that means we're going to have possession of the ball, which means their wingers are going to be operating in the defensive phase of things. Their wingers ain't going to be operating in an attacking phase. And that's what we have to do. We have to have their wingers going that way, going back to goal, because Nusa is not defensively minded and Solov is a centre forward. So they are not going to be they're not going to have that defensive nous. And that's where we can then take advantage. So that's a nice sort of segue to move on to England and where they can get their attacking joy. And for me, it's out wide. Because like I said, Nusa and Solov, they are not like, Nusa is trying to be Neymar. Talented player though, let's not get talented player. Like, everyone's talking about Haaland obviously being the main threat, but Nusa is a problem. Nusa is a problem, but I'm going to get more into detail with Nusa on my next video when I talk about my starting 11, because I feel like because of Nusa is why I would select a certain somebody at right back over a certain somebody, yeah? But we're going to get onto that later. So Nusa and Solov, for me, like I said, they're not defensively minded. So our wingers and our fullbacks, and in general our team, because we can now do overloads. We overload the right side with your right back, with your right-sided centre midfielder and your right winger. You overload, you create those triangles, and you take advantage of the lack of defensive nous from the wingers of Norway. And the same thing on the left side. Same thing on the left side, and that's where we'll get our joy. Another source of joy that we can get attacking wise against Norway is from, now you see Norway, they're good at counter pressing, like defensively. They're brilliant counter pressers with Berg and Odegaard especially. They press high and they are relentless at counter pressing. So that's something we got to look out for as well for England. Sometimes you might have to just skip that press. You might have to just skip it. So they're also obviously good at pressing high, but they do struggle to deal with runs from deep against their backline. And so Sander Berge is a good defensive midfielder when the game's in front of him. You see, when you run beyond him, that's where he struggles. He struggles to get on the half turn and track his runner back to goal. Do you know what I mean? If the game's in front of him, if you're doing tiki-taka in front of him, he will pressure you. He's good at duels. He's a big guy. He's defensively minded as well. He's strong in the tackle and whatnot. But if you are making runs beyond him, runs off of him, that's where he struggles, and that's where their back line struggles in general. So the third man runs are going to be important. Runs from deep are going to be important. So yeah, those are the ways I feel the game can be won and the game can be lost.